Alexander's daring led to victory, reshaping the fate of empires forever.
Merely the first engagement of the campaign, it was the psychological linchpin. The outcome would either crown Alexander as a peerless conqueror and open the wealth of Asia Minor to him, or it would decisively end his ambition before his invasion had even begun to breathe. The Persians, acting under the direction of the regional satraps, governors nominally loyal to the great king Darius III, had a clear and deadly strategy. They understood the river's defensive potential perfectly. They had deployed their most formidable troops, their elite cavalry, along the steep, slippery banks, forming a living, shimmering wall of polished steel, composite bows, and powerful horseflesh. Behind this terrifying screen, they positioned their most dependable infantry, thousands of Greek mercenaries. These were disciplined, deadly hoplites, expatriates whose loyalty was bought and paid for by Persian gold, ready to commit fratricide against their countrymen. Their strategy was deceptively simple. Allow Alexander's forces to become bogged down and disorganized in the swift current in the muddy banks, then crush them with a concerted countercharge as they struggled ashore. As Alexander surveyed the scene, his senior generals were gripped by paralyzing caution. They rode to him, urgently outlining the suicidal risk. The river was a chaotic torrent. The banks were precipitous. To launch an attack now, at the tail end of the day, was to risk the annihilation of the vanguard and the potential rout of the entire army. They urged him, "Wait until morning, Your Majesty. Let us scout upstream. Let us find a safer, shallower crossing point." But Alexander refused their counsel, his vision fixed on a principle deeper than mere military geometry. He understood that delay breeds doubt. A night spent camped opposite a confident enemy, with the rivers symbolizing the monumental nature of the task ahead, would allow fear and hesitation to spread like a fever through the ranks. A cautious crossing tomorrow, after a night of indecision, would be one made by an army whose faith in its commander was already eroded. He had to demonstrate now that no obstacle, natural or military, could halt the Macedonian advance. He had to project invincibility from the very first moment. Attack now. As the late afternoon sun began its slow dip toward the horizon, casting long, dramatic shadows across the valley, Alexander prepared for battle. He mounted his magnificent warhorse, Bucephalus, his plumed helmet, a towering crest that made him visible to every man on both sides, shining in the dwindling light. With a roar that was swallowed by the sound of the rushing water, he rode to the front of his right wing. Without hesitation, the king of Macedon plunged into the Granicus. Behind him surged the companion cavalry, the elite, noble, heavy cavalry of Macedon. They charged into the rushing water, shields raised against the spray, long thrusting spears held ready. The current immediately fought them, dragging at the horses' legs, trying to turn their mounts broadside to the flow. The muddy riverbed sucked at the horses' hooves. From the heights above, the Persians unleashed a storm of javelins, stones, and arrows. For a terrifying, chaotic moment, the Macedonians were a collection of struggling individuals, swallowed by the river's immense power. Then came the impact. Alexander's vanguard struggled, scrambling and clambering up the slick, steep far bank, their horses fighting for purchase. They emerged gasping, disorganized, only to meet the concentrated, full-force countercharge of the Persian noble cavalry waiting above them. The fighting became a desperate, close-quarters maelstrom. The noise was deafening. Spears shattered with loud cracks. The cries of falling men mixed with the terrified neighing of horses. Men and mounts collided in a violent, brutal confusion on the narrow strip of usable bank. Alexander himself became the epicenter of the storm. His recognizable, conspicuous helmet made him the ultimate target. A Persian nobleman, likely Mithridates, charged the king, his blade raised high for the killing blow. The strike came down with terrifying force, shattering part of Alexander's helmet and stunning him. For a critical heartbeat, the entire future of the world hung precariously in the balance. Before the attacker could finish the deed, another Macedonian officer, Clytus the Black, intervened, striking the Persian down and saving the king's life in the final dramatic instant. With the king's personal courage securing a narrow foothold, the tide began its inevitable turn. More Macedonian troops, spurred by the sight of their king in danger and the promise of a secure landing, poured across the river in a relentless stream. The deadly Macedonian phalanx advanced, their 6-meter Saracens bristling like an impenetrable wall of iron. The Persian cavalry, though brave, could not break the cohesion of the phalanx. Their charge faltered, their formation dissolved. Under the sustained pressure and the loss of their commanders, they broke and scattered in a panicked rout. But the battle was not yet over. Behind the shattered cavalry stood the thousands of Greek mercenaries, veterans, disciplined and unyielding. They formed ranks, an orderly, formidable block amidst the chaos, prepared to fight to the last man for their paymasters. Alexander, now secure and victorious over the initial defense, offered them a chance to surrender. They were Greeks, and he respected their training. They refused, standing firm against the wave of Macedonian fury. What followed was a swift, brutal, and calculated massacre. Enraged by the sight of Greeks fighting for the Persians, Alexander gave no quarter. As the sun finally sank over the battlefield, casting a blood-red light on the water, the river ran red with the dead. Almost all of the Greek mercenaries were destroyed. The Persian defense had been annihilated. Asia Minor, with its vast wealth and strategic ports, lay open, ready for the Macedonian conquest. Alexander had proven himself not just as a successor, nor just as a king, but as a commander of audacious genius, a leader willing to risk everything, including his own life, to secure victory and instill unwavering confidence in his army. The Battle of the Granicus was more than a victory on a riverbank. It was a devastating message to the defeated Persian Empire, whose legendary power was now exposed as vulnerable, to the Greek city-states, who realized a new, formidable master was rising, and to the world, which witnessed the arrival of a new, unstoppable force. A new power had crossed into Asia, and nothing would ever be the same again.